This is episode 4 of the Inspired Entrepreneur's Guide podcast. Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Darlene Victoria. This week, I chat with Patty Kabik of Expert Business Support Services. Before I dive into my conversation with Patty, I wanted to tell you about a few things. The podcast can now be found in iTunes or Stitcher. All you have to do is go to either one of those directories, search for the podcast by name, the Inspired Entrepreneur's Guide podcast, and subscribe. This way, you'll never miss a single episode. Now, on to my conversation with Patty. During our chat, we discuss why she started her business, the hardest thing about owning a business, the best thing about owning a business, and we also address the question, is there truly flexibility or freedom when it comes to being a business owner? Patty also went on to share a tip for working with a virtual assistant. Here is my conversation with Patty. Patty, welcome to the podcast and to the show.
Thank you, Darlene.
Oh, you're welcome. So I'm going to jump right into the questions and start at the very beginning. And I'd like to know, and the listeners would surely like to know, what made you decide to start your business?
Oh, wow. Well, it was actually really by accident, or maybe accident's not the right word, but it wasn't like I thought one day, I'm going to open my business and be a virtual assistant. So I'm sure this is probably true for many, many of us who go into business for ourselves. It just sort of evolved. When my kids were little, I was mostly a stay-at-home mom. And I also ran our plant nursery business. So I worked from home, but every now and then I'd get itchy feet, and I was signed up with a temp agency, and I'd be sent out here and there, usually the same places every time. So I developed really good relationships as far as professional ones doing that, and also from owning my own nursery, I got to know a lot of other nursery people, smaller hometown lawyers that dealt with that type of business. So I guess little by little, these people would call me and say, hey, Patty, I know you stay at home. Do you have free time to help me with, whatever, typing, proofreading and stuff like that. So I started doing it like that, not really virtually, I would say, because a lot of it was me, going to their place, picking up work, and taking it home to do at home. So,
right. So it was like meeting them halfway type of thing.
I'm not sure what that would have been called. They gave them a rate of what it would cost, and they paid me. So it was just sort of very, I guess the right word would be under the table. I didn't even consider it that it was like work. It was just stuff
right.
doing on the side, and I was making them happy by helping them out. So then, very coincidentally, I was just researching on the internet one day, and it's the term virtual assistant came up, and I'm like, oh, wow, it's kind of like what I do. Maybe I can do that. Not thinking I was going to open my own business, but once my kids got a little older, I was like, maybe I can just go out and get a real job now, after all this. Mm-hmm. To be honest, it was really difficult. I totally getting rejected everywhere I went. And I just figured, let me give this a try and see how things go with trying to get, clients on board and really make something of it. And that's how it happened. And here I am today, 5 years later, really doing great and loving it.
That is awesome. One thing I picked up on, and we've known each other for a while through VA websites and working together, and I never knew that you owned a nursery business. Now that's something I found so interesting, and I love doing these interviews because I learned such awesome things. Did having that first business help you? Like, was it easier in a sense to open the virtual assistant business because you had like a business?
Yeah, I never thought of that. Maybe just because I kind of knew I had to, register with the state. I didn't know that was a totally different kind of business. So there was state taxes and sales tax things to deal with. But that doesn't. This business is so much easier. There's none of
right.
The only thing that makes it hard is we pay our own taxes, and that's just never fun at the end of the year.
Right.
But yeah, maybe it did. Maybe it wasn't so scary because I already had that, and it was very small. It was like very small. It wasn't like, oh, there's this huge nursery business,
Right.
Florida. It was just a tiny little thing that we made sales now and then, but by no means was it a big business either.
Well, it sounds awesome either way. So, you mentioned that the taxes is kind of like one of the harder things about having a business such as you have now. But I'm curious, the next question is, what was the hardest thing about starting your business? And then on the flip side of that, the best?
Yeah, I think the hardest thing was just figuring it all out. An idea is an idea, but when you start to do something like, well, how is it done? Like, how is it possible? How do you get clients? How do you even charge?
Right.
It was just like figuring it all out. But when looking back at it, I gave this some thought. It was actually the funnest part too. Now looking back at it, I can say that now. Maybe not then, but it was fun because it was new and there was so much to learn. Then when I was starting it, since I had so much time on my hands, I wasn't very busy. I got to do like fun things, like design my little newsletter, and I even designed brochures and time doing like fun things for my business to get it started. I made a welcome pack and wanted to make it all cute, and so that was kind of fun to do. But it was hard starting and figuring it out. But what was the most helpful thing during that learning process were the forums. The people, and we met through the forums. So like you build relationships with so many people through these, this one in particular, the Virtual Assistant Forum that's the most helpful thing ever, is to be part of a forum, because you can help people with things that you didn't even know you could help them with, and they can help you. So anyway, I hope I answered that the right way.
You did. So the second part was, what was the best? So maybe finding that support group, is that what you would think is maybe what was the best part of starting your business? Or, I mean, it can even be maybe more free time. I don't know.
The best part of it now, the best part of it now is that it worked out.
Oh, that's great.
And you don't know that. So at that time, the best part, yes, was making great connections, learning new things, gaining confidence in myself over again, because like I said, I wasn't really in the workforce continually. So it just gave me a lot of confidence that, hey, I'm doing this, and so those were really the best things.
I want to now go on to the next question, and I know you through your website, through you, and just in general know that you love the beach, and you're a beach person for sure, and surfing. That is another awesome thing that I love that I know about you, that you love surfing. So I want to know how starting your own business, or how starting your own virtual assistant business in this case, actually, I should really rephrase that. Has it allowed you some freedom to support causes that you're very passionate about in terms of the ocean and manatees and surfing? How do you juggle your time to fit it all in?
Oh, wow, that is such a good question. And I, it's really, I could have probably answered it differently a year or two ago. Just because, and I thank you for asking this, but I love surfing and I've surfed since I was just a little girl. So, and now I'm an old girl. So I surfed all my life and it's just a big part of who I am. And I do devote my time to a couple great causes. I find time, if gathering, I'll make time to make sure I'm there. I think that can happen in anybody's life, whether you own your own business or not. When something's important, you make time to do it.
Right. True.
But far as has it allowed me more time by owning my own business and doing what I do, I have to say, like, nowadays, no. I'm busy. I'm grateful, really grateful for that, but I work a lot. And I think it's come to a point where I have to be like what I do for my clients. I have to find someone to help me get more time. But that doesn't mean I can't juggle stuff around. I can, if I want to go surfing at 10 a.m. on Wednesday, then I will, and I'll just stay up till midnight or get things done. So there is flexibility for sure.
Right. Maybe that's how I should have better worded that. How about flexibility? Because free time, I mean, any business owner will tell you free time. What, are you kidding me? So, yeah.
To work, we love our businesses, so in our case, in my case, I love my clients' businesses. I love them. So like those things are the priority. But yes, you make time, and it's awesome to be able to juggle things around, and it's a blessing. It could be the opposite, So I'm very blessed that I can say I'm very busy.
So what would you say to people that are thinking of starting their business and they're fearful of taking that first step? What is one piece of advice you might be able to provide them?
Finances go up. They're number one. And unless you can, you're a millionaire and don't need to worry about it. But so that's scary. Like, how will I make ends meet? Am I going to be able to make ends meet? And what happens if I can't? So those are all questions that are really scary. But if you can manage to secure yourself a little nest egg, you don't have to be afraid that you're going to, not be able to make ends meet. That's great. Not everybody has that privilege. So, I mean, if you fail, you fail, or if things don't work out, you try something new. You just have to do it. If it's something you really want to do and you know that you have what it takes. Things change, through the years, but you just got to do it. And the biggest failure in life, I say, is not to try. So if you don't try it, it's a failure. And if you try it and things don't work out, it's really not a failure. You tried. So.
Right. Yeah, it's funny. Before I get to my last question, I am building a book for our future baby, a book library, I should say. And one of the books is called The What If Monster. So it's basically this little boy who just says the whole book, what if I fail? What if I lose? What if I do this? And at the end, the monster says, well, what if you don't fail? What if you win? What if everything turns out okay? And that fits perfectly what you just said, and it reminded me of it.
Oh my God, that's so cool. That is so cool.
Since you're a virtual assistant and you provide services to other business owners, I wanted to kind of ask you a question that relates to that. What is one tip you can provide to business owners or to new business owners that maybe they wanted to partner with a VA?
Oh, well, definitely they need to be really clear with themselves. What are they looking for? What kind of help is it that they're looking for? I know that sounds really like, like, of course everybody knows that, but you know what? Not necessarily. So that's a really big thing, and things can always evolve and change, but it's really important to know what you're looking for. And something else that's really big for me is that you need to be compatible. I think it's finding a virtual assistant or any type of business partner that you're doing business with is how do we like each other as people? I'm just a people person maybe, and those things are what's important to me. I mean, if I don't like someone as a person, how am I going to like them doing business with them, How are your kids doing? How did you like your vacation? Little things like that that are important to let your business partner or who you're doing business with know that you care about their life a little too, like that. And another thing I stress because sometimes people have a hard time trusting or letting go and giving control things to someone to do. And I mean, it's something you have to do. You just need to trust.
And the trust and compatibility, I think, go hand in hand, because if you know and like someone, you will trust them.
Correct. So absolutely.
Yeah. Tell everybody else that's listening where they can find you, learn more about your business, and to connect with you.
It's totally my website, and it's Expert Support, and then it's svcs.com, and there are links to LinkedIn and Twitter and my Facebook page. So that would be the best way.
Thank you, Patty, so much for being a guest on this week's episode. If you'd like to learn more about Patty, you can visit her website. I'll be sure to include a direct link to her website in this episode's show notes. In fact, you can find show notes for all of the 4 episodes that have aired to date at dvpodcasts.com/inspired. Well, that's all the show I have for you this week, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. I'll be back in 2 weeks with a brand new episode. In the meantime, you can connect with me on Twitter at Darlene Victoria, on Facebook, facebook.com/Darlene Victoria Work. You can also sign up for my newsletter, which I email once a month with a whole bunch of digital media goodies and reminders about these podcast episodes at darlenevictoria.com/digital media digest. Make it a great week, and I will be back in 2 weeks. Until next time, this is Darlene Victoria signing out. This podcast was brought to you by The Inspired Entrepreneur's Guide to Living and Growing Successfully, a workbook to inspire and spark your entrepreneurial soul. You can pick up the book at inspiredguide.darlenevictoria.com. Use code InspiredGuidePodcast at checkout to receive a discount. Stop dreaming and start doing.